Well, how do they start a war?
Well, one country offends another.
How could one country offend another? You mean there's a mountain over in Germany gets mad at a field over in France?
Well, stupid, one people offends another.
Oh, that's it. I shouldn't be here at all. I don't feel offended.
What's up, everybody? I'm Rick.
And I'm Anna.
And welcome to our bucket list channel, a channel in which we try to realize the goals and dreams that are on our bucket list. Today, we keep working towards that goal that we have of watching every movie that was nominated at the Academy Award for Best Picture from 1927 to 2028, 101 years. Today, the movie that we've watched and that we're going to talk about is All Quiet on the Western Front, a movie that was nominated for Outstanding Production, as it was called back then, at the third Academy Award. So, for those who don't know, we're going to do this in two parts. The first part, spoiler free, we're going to tell you what our thoughts are about the movie without spoiling anything if you've never seen it and want to see it eventually. Second part is spoiler filled. We're going to talk about our favorite, our most interesting moments, more in depth, and really gives our thoughts about like what the movie really is about. So yeah. But before we do all of I know you usually find these interesting.
Yep, it is my favorite part
Yes.
in all of it. Really, yes.
Okay, so movie that came out in April 1930, Universal produced. So not
Not the MGM,
Yeah,
yes.
this time. It's based on a Eric Maria Remarque novel of the same name, All Quiet on the Western Front. Yeah. The movie was directed by Lewis Milestone, who was born into what is today's Moldavia. I thought that might interest you. Yeah?
Really?
Actors, I only pulled up two names because like there were a lot of them, but the two that I found were like the most central to the story. Of course, Paul Bonner, played by Lou Ayres. Paul is the main character. Really, it's more his story than anyone else. But there's also someone else that I thought was interesting, Kat.
Oh, yes.
Played by Louis Holheim. About the movie, when it came out, received universal acclaimed. Everybody loved it. Even now, if I haven't checked myself, but I saw that on Wikipedia it said if you look at the Rotten Tomato score, it's 100% recommendation. So not 100%, because Rotten Tomato works on whether or not they recommend you to go see the movie. Yeah.
I wonder, are we going to recommend it?
I wonder. It's still popping up all the time in best movies of all time lists. At the turn of the century, a lot of people were making top 100 movies of all time, and that one popped out a lot of time in those kind of lists.
And I guess that would make sense. I mean, it's like very well-known story, the novel that is based on also.
Yeah. Was nominated for 4 Academy Awards, won 2. Outstanding Production, so this is the winner for that year. And also won Best Director. First movie that won both awards. We're only at the third award ceremony, but still. Was nominated for Best Writing, did not win. And nominated for Best Cinematography, did not win. But not all was quiet when that movie came out. It wasn't all flowers and applause. Some people did not like it. Some countries did not like it. This is quite a controversial movie. First of all, it was banned in Nazi Germany.
The book too.
Yeah.
And the book, if I'm not mistaken, only appeared a couple of years before the movie came out.
Yeah, in 1929.
It was new. Yeah.
Banned in Nazi Germany for its perceived anti-German message and anti-war message. Violent content led it to be banned, and Victoria, Australia, the state of Victoria in Australia, was available elsewhere in Australia.
That's curious.
Yeah, exactly. Other countries also banned the movie for various reasons, including Italy, Austria, and France.
France?
Yes, France, which only made the movie available, like unbanned it, in the 60s.
Oh, that's a lot later.
Yeah. Italy and Austria, I think it was like in the 80s. So. So yeah, first of all, let's get to the spoiler-free section of our review. What did you think of the movie without spoiling it for the people out there who haven't seen it?
So, to be honest, I did know like overall what happens because we did talk about the book in a history class back when I was in school.
Mm.
There were a few scenes that felt to me like they were maybe a little bit over dramatic sometimes, or maybe are being dragged a little bit too long. I get the effect that they wanted to create, but it didn't really work for me. It didn't seem like that. But overall, I think it was a very interesting movie to watch, and I think it transmits like the message that the book was intended to have, that the author intended to create very well.
You said interesting, and I feel like interesting is the word you use maybe when you're not so sure about the movie. Yeah, I liked it.
No, I meant it interesting
And,
in a real in the real way.
Like, this movie was interesting.
No.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah?
Yes.
No, I like the movie. I thought it showed a side of it's a war movie. For those who don't know, it's a First World War movie. Showed a side of war that is at the time wasn't that explored. Even if you consider the other war movies that we've seen, like Wings or Seventh Heaven. Yeah.
Yes.
And so, like, from the historical aspect of it, I found it very interesting. There is one thing that I will say is a pet peeve of mine, and usually in movies, in modern movies, they always have this thing when they're in another country, but everyone in that country speaks English because the movie is in English.
Yes.
But with an accent from that country, and I'm always like, why do they even do that? Like, they're speaking with each other. Why would they be speaking with each other with an accent, but not in German or not in Russian or whatever country they're based in? In this case, they didn't do that.
Yeah.
Everybody was German, but everybody was speaking with a thick American accent. And for the first 10 minutes, that's all I could think about. I was like, oh my God, these people, they're really Americans. Is this Germany? I wasn't sure. Because
everybody speaks English, and they don't even try to make it seem like they're German speaking English or anything like that.
It's the guy with his New York accent just speaking. It's like, okay, that's interesting. Especially, we'll go into more details later about that. But yeah, surface level reaction, I liked it. I thought it was really interesting, especially in a historical manner. And so I would recommend it. Definitely a movie that I would recommend to anyone who's interested in the First World War or in old movies. Because it's also very interesting to see how they filmed that movie in the 1930s, and some of the scenes really well made. The war scenes, much better than the ones in Seventh Heaven, which I think were a little caricatural.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. Like the war scenes, the combat scenes, the scenes where they were in the holes, in the ground,
in the
trenches, right? Yeah. So well done, in my opinion, too. Like I said, the acting was really good for the most part.
And there is a raw element to the movie, everything that they go through, you can feel how real it is, It is also based on the author's own experience, And so, yeah, I really liked it. But now I feel like we're getting on the edge of it. We want to talk about more details of the movie. So let's go into spoiler territory. For those of you who don't want to be spoiled, I invite you to come back for our next video and leave this one with a like and subscription if you're not already subscribed. For those of you who don't mind getting spoiled, let's get right into it. I'll start with the thought that I was having earlier about language. One of the moments where it jumped at me the most was when they were talking to the French girls.
Right.
Because they were speaking French.
Yeah, they were speaking French. Right, the girls. But the soldiers, they were speaking English.
Yeah.
Supposedly being German.
Exactly.
But I feel like it works, you know?
I mean, I got used to it pretty quickly. It's just like in these first like 10-15 minutes, I was like, oh, wait, what's happening? You know, is this Germany? Because there were signs in German behind. They were talking about like, oh, we just captured a bunch of French. And, oh, we capture more Russians than that every day. You know, they have that line at the beginning. I'm like, wait, which side are these people on? Aren't they American? But then realize that.
No, yeah, they're actually German.
They're German, yeah.
I do want to get a little bit into those scenes that I was talking about, though. That seemed a bit over dramatic. Like when they were being attacked and one of them it was getting really scared, like going insane, basically. Or when the Paul's friend was dying.
In the hospital.
Yes, in
the
the
one
hospital.
with the nice boots.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
They were done in a certain way that I think was characteristic of the time, but they didn't really touch me. It felt a little bit, like I said, a little bit over dramatic.
Yeah, the hospital scene I would definitely say like was a bit dragged on, and especially the moment of his death was a bit much. But the trench scene with his friend going insane, I thought worked.
Yeah?
Yeah, I thought it like made me really think about how you would feel if you were just stuck there for days and days and you can't do anything and all you hear is bombing all the time. You go crazy at some point, you know. It's not even like at that point you'd rather go outside and fight than stay there and keep on listening to that.
Well, yeah, I suppose that could be.
And that's the element also that made me, you know, maybe overlook some of these more overly dramatic scenes. Like I remember there was one time where one of Paul's friend, you know, becomes blind and he's screaming for like 5 minutes, and I feel like in another movie I might have like harped on that more, but here like I felt more the message that they were trying to tell me, you know, the message they were trying to tell me with his friend going crazy inside the bunker, the trenches, the message that they were trying to tell me with his friend getting his legs cut off and not wanting to, you know, leave to the dead, what was the room called? The
death room?
The death room, yeah. Exactly. Like, even though they were, like, acting it up a bit, like, I got it. Like,
yeah, you get what you're supposed to understand from it. That those were real things that were happening back then. As for that scene, the hospital scene with Paul's friend dying, I actually felt in that scene, like, even though the dying friend was maybe a little bit too much, Paul's reaction to all of it was so genuine. I really liked it.
Yeah. Paul, I thought, was great the whole time, throughout the whole movie. Kat also, that's why those are the two that I pulled out, because I thought both of their performances was...
Yeah, they really stand out in the whole movie. Yeah.
And they also, both of them represent like what the war was about. You know, Paul as the new guy, you know, who come in with dreams of being a hero, and like Kat, who's very quickly like reminds him of reality. You know, like, and
nobody's becoming a hero here.
Yeah, we're just soldiers in a war. They even have that conversation at some point, like, who started the war? Why are we even fighting? You know, like, they don't understand it. They're just soldiers.
I loved a certain part of that conversation when someone says, you know, I think when they want to start a war, we should just make a circle, like draw a circle, put all the leaders of all the countries in that circle, and whoever wants to fight for it, and leave us out of it. Like, that's basically what they were saying. And that's one of the things that I really loved about this movie the most, is that I feel like it shows really well the perspective of the little people who back then, most of them probably didn't even know, like those soldiers there didn't even know what is actually happening, like what's the greater
Why are we fighting?
image. Yes, exactly.
The element that I also think I enjoyed a lot was when Paul went back home, and then to see how the people who were left behind, like the older people or the women, are reacting to the war, and he can see that like the older men, they're talking strategy together. They're like, oh, this war, we must win it, we must go on. Paul, you're a hero. Oh, it's horrible over there, right? But not as horrible as here. At least you have food over there. Like, they're not aware of what it's really like.
Yeah.
They just stay together in their little circle and talk about the war as if it was, this other thing that doesn't concern them. I thought that was really interesting. And the moment also when he's talking to the students that are being talked to by the teacher. And at first, it's a very, like, anti-war message that he's giving to the student, like, don't go there and die for nothing. But then it switches when he's like, but I have nothing here anymore. Like, I don't understand this world anymore. My world is the front, and so I have to go back. I have to go back right now. I thought that was a really interesting turnaround on his part.
I think that is actually a part of the book, from what I remember, that was only explored in that one scene, I think. But a lot of the book is actually about the soldiers not being able to then reintegrate into the society. Yeah. Like, that's also a big part of it. And I feel like
there are crumbs of it here and there with some of his friend who get crippled, Like, you get that feeling that it'll never be the same for him,
right.
But here we get a concrete example with him going back home, and he's not able to really live the life that he had before. Even his mom says, like, I look at you, but it seems like it's not you,
Right, yeah. And before he leaves, he talks to himself or thinks to himself, like, I wish I could tell this to her, to his mother, but I can't. Like, he can't even, like, he doesn't have anyone with whom he can communicate to talk about what he's feeling. He feels trapped in his own mind and in those experiences.
Mm-hmm. And so when the movie came out, a lot of people really liked it. A lot of people felt like their voice, soldiers during the First World War, their voice wasn't heard or wasn't like pushed enough. And so that movie talked to them and their experiences. But there was also a lot of people who didn't agree, who had a different experience. And so I thought that's important to point out too, is that the movie presents an experience of the war, but from the point of view of the author.
Right.
But that experience is not everybody's experience. Some people...
Yeah, we also have to take into consideration that most of the characters that we follow through this movie are some teenagers.
Yeah.
They're basically children who were sent to war. So, I guess that would also weigh into what kind of an experience they had.
Yeah, but I mean, even the adult character have a similar view of things that the kid have, which is like, we're fighting, but like we don't really know why, and we'd rather be home. But if we're home, we don't know what to do there, so we'd rather be fighting, But there were people who came out when the movie came out to say like, no, my experience of the war was totally different. I was proud to have served my country, and like I would do it again tomorrow, and I didn't think that there was anything wrong technically with the war itself. Not the atrocities that are committed, of course, are wrong, but
with like serving for your country.
With serving for a country is not inherently a bad thing.
Right.
But yeah, it's a movie that makes you think, which is part of the reason why I enjoyed it so much. So, final words?
Yes, I would definitely recommend this movie. I think it's really good. It really puts things into perspective. I feel like compared to the other war movies that we've watched, this one puts more sheds more light onto that aspect of how war impacted people's lives. And yeah, more than that, even the acting, I found it very good. The story is like straight A in my opinion. So I definitely think you should watch it.
Yeah, it's a real good movie. And you talk about the other war movies that we've watched. I feel like in a way, this is almost the only war movie that we've watched. Because Wings was a love story
Right.
with a war setting. And so was Seventh Heaven.
Seventh Heaven was even more a love story.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
This is really a movie about the war.
Yeah, there's nothing else.
And the people fighting the war. I really loved it. I recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it. And if you've seen it, go watch it again. It's a bit long, but hey, enjoy your time watching it. If you guys like this video and enjoyed your time watching that, be sure to like. If you're not subscribed to this channel already, what are you doing? Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to be notified whenever our next video drops. Yeah, have a nice day.